Is this situation common or thankfully an outlier? And I'm talking about where a board has no idea that their documents allow them to regulate rentals. In this video, two of our experts will answer that question. Welcome to this HOAleader.com video chat with two of our experts. My name is Gabriella Falisco. Today I'm joined by Brad Van Ruyen of Florida and Matt Heron of Michigan. And this month, we're seeking advice on how to know what your documents say and how to start enforcement you didn't know you had the authority to do. And we're asking this because we saw a post online. A board member said, "Oh gosh, we never knew we had the ability to regulate rentals. We only recently found out because our lawyer says that our documents say that they prohibit short-term leases and Airbnb rentals. And the documents also give the board a timeline that they can approve or deny an application for a rental or a short-term lease, I guess. And the board is now scrambling to create a policy for doing that. The problem is they have 155 units in their community. They have 70 suspected rental properties, and they're looking to ask of those 70 owners to fill out an application, pay a fee, give the board a signed copy of the lease, and acknowledge the community guidelines. So our first question here is, this seems pretty basic that they didn't know that this was in their documents. Is it common in your experience, Brad, for a board to really not know something that is pretty spelled out in their document?
Yeah, that's really a great question, Gabriella. We've definitely seen situations where boards, sometimes for years, right, have misread or overlooked key provisions in their declaration or bylaws. This really happens when documents are old. They can sometimes be poorly organized, and often when they've been amended over and over. We also see it when, keep in mind, boards are volunteers, right? They inherit systems without getting proper orientation. So that's why it's always good to have proper handle from board to board. And then there's the old adage, right? The property manager just sometimes doesn't know and assumes this is how it's always been done, which can lead to entire sections of covenants being ignored. Look, many associations require tenant approval, application fees, lease terms, and in some communities there's bans on vacation rentals or Airbnbs. But I think the true question here is knowing that you have the authority isn't the same as knowing how to enforce it properly. And enforcement really has to follow the exact procedures and timelines that are written in the governing documents or in your state statutes.
Okay, Matt, do you see this in Michigan? Is it too common? I feel like it's too common.
I agree. It is, although I think there's kind of a difference between sort of big picture, whether or not you're aware of the big picture concept and whether kind of like what Brad was getting at the end, is the steps of enforcement. And I think it's much more common for associations to misunderstand the correct process or procedure to enforce a particular component. Because at least in my experience, what I tend to see a lot is boards tend to overstate their enforcement authority. And so they're more likely to implement something that they don't have the authority to do, as opposed to not recognizing that they have the ability to regulate in this sphere at all. While that is possible, it's less common, especially for such a big ticket item as short-term rentals. My expectation would have been is that this would have come up, at least at some level, unless in the community there does appear to be, although unstated, some tolerance for short-term rentals.
Excellent. So, listeners, thank you for joining us. And I just want to note that these experts are providing insights based on the laws and practices in their state. And this video is intended to provide you with general guidance you could use when you approach an expert in your state. Listeners, please be sure to click on the link below to watch the additional extended video where these experts discuss whether enforcement against nearly half of the owners is the best move after such a misreading of the documents. So thanks, Brad and Matt.